All right, I've been trying to figure out just what this pattern is, and I think I've got it nailed down. It's as if a peasant blouse and a chemise à la Reine had a super adjustable baby. For those of you who are late to the party, my name is Mare, and I'm working on an adjustable/alterable capsule wardrobe expedited by a family event I have to attend in just under 2 weeks. It's probably already passed by the time you see this, and I'm hoping I got it done in time. My weight isn't currently stable, so I need to be able to adjust the fit on a regular basis until the garment needs to be altered. Today I'm working on the Liseron Blouse/dress, also by Wildflower Designs. I'm making the blouse version. The dress will come later because I'm still trying to figure out which fabric I want to use. Speaking of fabric, I picked up this beautiful blue floral on white linen rayon at my local Fabricland's clearance section. I'm hoping the blue in the blouse and the coquelicot skirt will coordinate nicely. Now, the big selling point of the Liseron blouse and dress is that it can be worn loose or it can be tied. From pictures I've seen, you can put a couple of loops in around the underarm that allow it to be crisscrossed under the bust to pull it in closer to your curves, or tied like an empire waist. Very versatile indeed. I'm going for the mid-length sleeve version because I tend to bake if I get anywhere near the sun. With this being a linen blend, I'm hoping it can keep me cool and safe from a sunburn all summer. Seriously, I've walked less than 5 minutes away from shelter only to have the husbeast and his family become highly concerned for the welfare of my skin. Being this pale is a serious pain in the butt. You know what else is a real pain in the butt? Not being able to afford supplies, so I'd really like to thank my patrons without whose help I wouldn't be making this top. The past couple of years have been difficult for me in terms of making the time to create videos, so when life throws me a curveball that needs to be addressed, I try to let my patrons know that something's going on. And I really do appreciate all the support they've given me. Not only money, though that helps, refer back to my opening statement about buying supplies. A lot of the incentive, however, is the encouragement to just keep on keeping on. So thank you, folks. You have absolutely no idea how much that means. And if you can't afford to be a patron, I'm just glad to have you here watching the video. Hopefully subscribing, maybe booping the like button. Maybe you'd like to leave a comment about how you would style this top. You'll want to wait for the end of the video to see how it turns out. If my pattern looks traced, that's because it is. I'm saving printer ink and paper by using an Epson ultra short throw projector and tracing the pattern onto tissue and old wrapping paper that's just ugly enough no one's ever going to use it. If you're wondering why I didn't just cut out my pieces from the projector, I'm taller than the size the pattern was designed for, so I need to make adjustments. Besides, it never hurts to have a paper pattern handy in case of a power outage or a devastating apocalypse. The first task is possibly the most tedious, making the long length of lacing to tie around your body and make the loops under the arms. It's made similarly to bias tape but cut on the grain. I made the tape but left sewing it until last, figuring if I ran out of time I could just use some ribbon. steps for this blouse seem fairly straightforward, at least until the last few bits. The front has gathering that's sewn down with the front neckline. Instead of gathering the back, you attach a casing and insert elastic. Seam up the sides and start on the sleeves. My hope is that I can use this as a nice coordinating top to go well with the Cottagecore skirt, but also fit in as a part of the wardrobe as a whole. There's one main event for the weekend and a lot of visiting that will also need to be done, so I'm hoping this will work well for the visiting portion of the trip, maybe even for the travel depending on how things go. Because the bulk of the pattern seems to be gathered fabric, I'm hoping it's going to be easy to alter when the time comes. Because of that, I'm not too worried about a lot of French seaming. I think there's only really the side seams. Otherwise, with other garments I'm making, I'd like access to my seams in case I have to make adjustments. My serger comes in handy for that. Until that time, the ties on the blouse make it adjustable for everyday wear. I've been of two minds when it comes to adjustable clothing. There's a mindset I've found myself getting into when working on historically adequate garments that makes me exclude things like elastic because it's a more modern technology. And because there's a huge push for sustainability. The fact is, there are times when I should have just said, to heck with it, and just installed elastic, like on the rear end of my walking skirt. For me, it most definitely should have had elastic to make those gathers, and if I ever revisit the skirt to make alterations, I think that's what I'll do. Most of the adjustable clothing I've found, though, is fairly basic and rudimentary in shape. Loosely fitting in a lot of places, and a lot of the adjusting comes from getting creative with tying or belting or elastic. So I'm going to start looking to incorporate more of these elements into some of the things I make going forward. At least I hope I remember to. No gathering on the sleeves, just a casing with elastic over the top. There's also an elastic casing for the ruffle at the cuff. Then it's time to start assembling things. It might take a couple of tries, which I didn't have time to do. At this point I was panic sewing, and once I'd managed to sew the sleeves to the bodice and stitch down the hem, I raced to finish a tie long enough to wrap around my torso a couple of times. I finished in the wee hours of the morning and hastily packed my bag for the flight. Unfortunately, I had to stop filming at some point just to try and get everything done.
The sky is blue, the sun is high. I'm sitting here on my own. I think of you, you're on my mind, you know. To me that's alright. Green grass on my neighbor's lawn. Maybe I should take a stroll. And to me that's alright. To me, that's alright. You know, to me, that's alright.
I like the blouse, but I'm definitely going to be doing some alterations. Somehow I must have missed any notches that could be on the sleeves and the underarm, so I fudged which goes on which side. Either arm I worked on had extra fabric to deal with at the underarm somewhere, so that was odd. I'm glad I didn't finish the underarm though, because I'll be picking the bodice apart to adjust the neckline and possibly the back casing. I don't know if I have particularly narrow shoulders, but when I first had the ability to try on the blouse, it felt rather large and sloppy, slouching down and showing off my bra straps, etc. I tried to compensate by tightening the gathering in the sleeve caps, but I think that just made the poof at the top of the shoulder look sharper than I wanted. It was finished, as much as this is finished, in time for my trip, and I did wear it. I'd had the foresight to pack a bunch of safety pins, which not only kept the sleeve caps from showing my bra straps, but it also allowed me to do a little extra tucking and pinning. I'd learned the safety pin trick from my mum about 20 some odd years ago when she had to pin me into my bridesmaid's dress for my brother's wedding, because I was weightlifting at the time, and even though she'd made final alterations before we left town for the event, I apparently had lost a few more centimeters just being a tourist. So she was doing safety pin fittings right up until the bridal party was packed into the car. It's a skill I can now say has come in handy. I'd lengthened the torso below the waist on the blouse, and I'm glad I did. I grew up wearing tops that were designed to hide my midsection rather than accent it, so I wanted the blouse to hit around or below the hip. It still seems a bit short to me, so I may add more length to it the next time I make it, because I do like the pattern and will likely make it again in the future. It was a hit though. I thought it looked good, and I had quite a few compliments. A couple of the folks who commented on it were surprised I'd sewn it myself, so chalk that up as a success. I'm liking that it has a bit of peasant top poof to the sleeves and the gathered front bodice look of the 18th century chemise dress. I like that I could wear it loose or make an underbust corset to go with it, or possibly one of those slightly looser stay-based vest things the kids are making these days for the Hobbitcore aesthetic. Maybe I'd stick with a slightly looser laced underbust corset. I have some ideas in mind for summer that might look cool. I guess we'll see how things are going when the time comes.